Hi, everyone. I'm Jess, and I'm the content manager here at Course Report. Course Report is the resource for helping people find the right technical skills boot camps and courses for them. At Course Report, you can research the best coding boot camps and courses all over the world, find out which technical skills to learn, where to apply, and how to fund your own boot camp experience. Today, I'm so happy to have René Weiberlenn joining us to talk about how his bootcamp experience at WBS Coding School has helped propel his new tech career. René is a recent graduate of WBS Coding School's full stack web development bootcamp and now completing an internship at DocMorris. So thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us today, René. First, I'd love to start at the beginning of your tech career journey. What inspired you to start a tech career this year?
Well, I started actually last year
Oh,
in January. I used to be an audio engineer myself. I used to do podcasts and voiceovers and things like that. It was great. But with COVID, a lot of things changed. So I tried to turn a new leaf after some difficulties and had a wonderful partner with me who's also in tech and
hmm,
who encouraged me to do what I always wanted to do, honestly. I originally had an education, still do, in IT. So it's not completely new.
hmm.
Just needed to refresh a lot of things and add a lot of new things as well, because that education is 20 years old. So
That
had to
makes
get some help.
sense. Yeah. There are a lot of coding boot camps online and also based in Germany and in Europe. What stood out about WBS Coding School when you were researching coding boot camps?
Their tech stack and the fact that they're local.
Mm,
I wanted a place that was here in Berlin, so if I had something, I could potentially, well, do something with them. They also had like originally a local uh, like course that was like in person, which I originally was looking for, but that wasn't something that I was able to join at the time. So local was something I was looking for because I wanted something that was here in Germany, first of all,
mhm.
best in Berlin because that's where I'm stayed, and uh, and their tech stack was exactly what I was looking for. I looked through a couple other coding boot camps as well. Those had similar tech stacks, but like I said, I had someone that is in the industry, and she was very knowledgeable on those and gave me a lot of good insight on what to pick.
Mm. What was the boot camp application process like at WBS Coding School? Did you need to know any coding or have any technical skills to join?
No, no, I did not. Even though I did, I was very well prepared. I do know coding. I started out in January with C Sharp to
Mm.
refresh my coding school knowledge. And then in September, when I joined last year, the WBS, I was over prepared. Um, but no, I did not. Obviously, absolutely not. Anybody could have joined. We had a lot of fresh people in the boot camp as well who were equally well versed afterwards, as I was, at least in the stuff that we learned there.
Do you recommend for people who are new to coding that they learn just some basic um, coding like HTML, CSS before starting the boot camp?
I would say yes. It will make things a lot easier, but I don't think it's necessary
Hmm.
because they do start at the very bottom level. It will make things very much easier, like coding in general. There's a couple very good resources online where you just go through a couple hours of something and they will at least tell you something about if then wells, and these kind of things that are incredibly important when coding in general. Some amount of logic, which doesn't necessarily mean you need to learn the code, but at least know what it means when going through a logic. If thing A happens, then do this, else do something else, is a very fundamental thing for coding that can just be picked up really early and can be done beforehand as well.
Did you receive any government funding to make the bootcamp tuition at WBS more affordable? I know that Germany has that Bildungsgutschein. I didn't know if that was something you used.
They do, but I did not use that.
Mm.
I was a self-paid, one of the very few ones self-paying people, but I think 90% of people that go to a boot camp, at least to a WBS, get a Bildungsgutschein because they are paid by the government. So
yeah, it's such a cool program that's offered through German government. Let's dive into the actual boot camp. So what was a typical day or a typical week like in the boot camp once you were enrolled?
Well, each week we learned new things. With each week that we learned new things, we had new tools at our disposal to fill out, well, projects, for lack of a better term, like small little things that we programmed that with those tools that we learned the previous week. So we started at 9 a.m. in the morning with a stand-up, similar agile kind of methodology that everybody was going. Everybody was like, well, this is my problems currently, or this is where I'm at. This is what we're learning. And then we usually had a lecture, which was like an hour or two, and then some kind of exercise afterwards, as well as a week-long project that we were filling out with the knowledge from the previous week. So we always had something to work on. We always had guidance throughout this whole thing. We learned, and with each week, our knowledge expanded and built upon itself, which was great. And our projects got more complex. So when at first we just built HTML and CSS standard web pages, we at some point in the end built full stack web applications with React and Express.js, and yeah, it was great.
How many hours a week were you dedicating to the boot camp?
Well, since it was full-time and started at 9 a.m. with a stand-up, so 8 hours a day, I was dedicating this.
Wow. So yes, it's definitely a full-time commitment. Were you working on projects through the weekend as well?
Yes, my own ones, usually. Or whenever I just felt like I needed some more knowledge. I'm a very dedicated person. I like learning a lot, and I was very much deep into this, trying to get the best experience, the most knowledge out of the experience at WBS Coding School.
You mentioned having taken courses in IT years ago. What was the difference between learning at WBS and the coding bootcamp versus learning IT in more of like a university type setting?
Well, my original education is basically IT sales, to the lack of a better term. I don't know. The US doesn't have something similar. Germany has like something they call Ausbildung, which is like a 3-year like commitment where you learn a job. And it's similar to university, just a bit lower and a very specific kind of way of learning. And back then it was basically going to school for the most part. Like you go to school, you learn something, it's slower. You have your courses and your grades and all these kind of things, right? Which is different in WBS Coding School because that was a 17-week boot camp. The amount of knowledge that was crammed within 17 weeks was differently paced. Since you were learning something one week and then applying it the next week, it was very much more practical rather than theoretical. It was, for me, at the very least, more exciting and easier applicable.
What were your instructors like at WBS? Were they software engineers themselves?
Yeah, and some of them also did do one of these boot camps themselves. Like I think there was many of them that were like, well, 2 years ago I was from WBS Coding School. I was one of these alumni.
Hmm.
I did this myself, even though I was maybe IT beforehand, but like I did the boot camp as well. And then I came here and now I'm teaching. So this wasn't something new. Yeah. They were at least very, very knowledgeable. Whenever I had a problem with anything, one of their guys could give me an answer.
Yeah, that was my next question. If you were struggling with an assignment or something that was covered in a lecture, how do you receive help at WBS?
It was asking guy. They're like, hey, I have a I have a problem. Can you help me out here? And he's like, well, yeah, sure. Show me what you got. And then I'll, give him some code, or we hop into voice somewhere and then we talk about it, sometimes for half an hour, sometimes longer.
Mm.
Sometimes it, you know, bug. There was this one moment where we were looking for a bug in my code and it was literally just one space somewhere that you don't even see. It was, yeah.
It's so frustrating. Um, what was your cohort like at WBS? Was everyone making a career change into full stack development like you?
Well, yes, the course was full stack web and app development at WBS. So everybody that was there wanted to do this.
Hmm.
If they in the end actually ended up doing this in the end, like, or just wanted to add upon something they've already done, I'm not sure. I know I've had a couple of people in there who just wanted to refresh old knowledge, people that have done years and years of JavaScript development that just needed now, the new stack, basically, which was great. And others that swapped from .NET or from Java over to React and Node.js. There's many people that also have never coded. Those had a bit more problems, I got to be honest, but
Hmm.
in the end, it was doable. And yeah.
Let's talk about projects during the boot camp. Can you give me an example of some of the things you accomplished?
One of them was an event manager for an event agency, for example. We've done full-on full-stack web applications that were for movie commenting or rating of movies with APIs in the back end that were calling upon APIs that were already in the internet, or we were writing our own APIs. We were working with designs or creating our own designs, and that all in a teamwork usually. So where we were working together on to-do apps, obviously, those are classics, and a blog, things like that. Now, this is an event
Oh, okay.
organization. They do events. They are a local company, a nonprofit organization here in a local where I live. And their original website wasn't very good. So I decided as my final project to write them a new website as a full stack web application that they can use for their event management. In this case, they organize small little music events with rock, jazz, blues, and singer-songwriters that come by for like somewhere between 100 and 500 people. And for this, I designed the place, the page itself, with kind of event style organization where you can read more about this, where it is, and you can reserve cards, tickets,
Hmm.
and get them as well. The page itself is also for their nonprofit, as they are doing it, not for money, but for fun. They always look for people, and I have created a dashboard, a backend for them as well, which is working with an API that I've written myself.
Wow, that's amazing. So, what languages did you use to build this?
This is written in React, React.js, so JavaScript, most of this for the front end, and the back end is written in Node.js using Express.js for the API. I'm also using PostgreSQL as a database.
And how long did it take you to build this? You mentioned you did complete it in time for your final project, so I'm guessing it was a short window.
Yeah, for the final project, we had 6 weeks. and I was not completely done at the end of the 6 weeks. I was also not writing this all by myself throughout the 6 weeks. Since this is a personal project of mine, I then afterwards finished it completely and uploaded it. It just recently went live in 1st of April. I think 12th of April, actually. 12th of April is when we shot this live.
That's amazing. When you were working at the boot camp with your team to build this, how did you divvy up the work?
We were using a Kanban system, so agile methodologies, as we have learned at WBS Coding School, and we created together an amount of tasks that needed to be done, and everybody picked the task whenever they had some time and wrote some stuff for it. I was kind of the project manager of this whole thing, meaning that I oversaw whenever new code was done, and I was doing the code reviews as well. So everything was looking nice and clean, worked afterwards the way it was supposed to as well. So Kanban, tickets, tasks, and then whatever was there and needed to be done was picked up.
René, you participated in an eco-themed hackathon. You mentioned it earlier while you were at WBS. Tell me a little bit about your hackathon experience and what you and your team built in just 48 hours.
Well, technically, we built that thing in like 36 hours because we lost the first day to some unforeseen difficulties, but
you pivoted, yeah.
yeah, we did. Anyway, it's a very stressful situation, but since I was still in boot camp at the time, it was very fresh for me, so I just started typing away, and it was a lot of people, and organizing a lot of people in this short amount of time and giving them work to do and then also making work in the end was actually quite difficult, I gotta be honest.
Yeah.
But it is one very, very good experience. I was able to immediately use all the knowledge that I got from WBS Coding School and their tech stack in the product that we created. And I was working with other people together who had other knowledge that was kind of trying to fit things together. In the end, I ended up being like the front end guy, so doing the page itself rather than the logic that was behind it. The API was done by somebody else that was doing the data engineering course beforehand, and some other people as well. It was really good. It was a great experience, but it's very stressful. Our eco theme, first of all, we had also a very heavy emphasis on AI because that was one big thing that was asked from us, from everybody. It's like, yes, make it AI. And for that, we had someone that trained an AI specifically for eco and how to best apply anything ecologically to a company. We trained it also on a bit of the jury, which was DocMorris and Delivery Hero at the time. So we could ask some strange questions like, what's the current ecological state of DocMorris and how do they work with what's their eco thing? Well, that was kind of nice and was kind of neat. And we had someone that was just 48 hours was just training this AI for us. Besides that, the app we created was a simple web page that was supposed to be integrated into any company's intranet, I would say, so internal web that is for the organization and the internal news. Teams were supposed to compete against each other and get points for ecological things that they've done, like bring the trash out or something, and make points with this. The idea there was make it simple, keep it simple, allow the company to easily organize this within teams, make it fun, and make it easily integratable into any company that needs this. I, for one, whenever like a company has like 400 or 500 people at least, they have something like web internal. And I know this. I've worked in a couple of those. So, that's the easiest way to integrate this. Use something they already have and then add something on top. So that's what we did. There was points in there. There was a solution afterwards in there. There was like I said, this big AI thing was in there as well, which in the end apparently won us the hackathon.
Well, congrats on that win. And you mentioned earlier that this was like a competition between boot camps, the other boot camps.
Yes.
How many other boot camps were participating? Do you
Well,
remember?
our team was actually a set of two boot camps.
Mm,
One was Stack Fuel, which was a more data engineering kind of style boot camp,
hmm.
and WBS Coding School. We also had a couple other boot camps in there. I think it was like 6 in total,
Wow.
maybe 7, whatever. And there was a couple. And we were at a campus of 42 Berlin, which is also a boot camp kind of style.
Very nice. And one of the judges at that hackathon was from DocMorris, and now you're currently completing an internship there at DocMorris. Did you land that internship because they spotted you in this hackathon? Is that how it
Yes.
happened? Yeah.
Yeah, the sponsorship from DocMorris was somebody that won this thing, then also gets to have an internship at DocMorris. So
Very
when we won this thing, we had a couple people that were interested in the internship. They then had a team fit interview, and they chose one of those people out of the team that won for the internship, which in the end was me.
Very cool. What kinds of projects have you been working on in that internship?
Well, I've worked on some amount of projects for. There was an idea that they built a thing for me, basically, right? Within 8 weeks, I was supposed to do something at DocMorris, and the internship itself was split in 4 parts. I was supposed to kind of go through departments step by step and learn the ins and outs and the tech stack, as well as some of the knowledge that DocMorris was using when building their things. So I was at first in the data engineering team and looking at whatever they were using, which was Snowflake, which was a new thing, and I needed to learn about. There was some Tableau things in there, which is a data. It shows data in a very beautiful way. It's like Excel but cool. And then afterwards, I went to UX UI, which was interesting because in WBS I learned Figma as well, and they were heavily relying on Figma for UX UI. So I was delving deep into their design systems and was working on some designs for them. I was working on the Zendesk FAQ page, for example, for them there, as well as I was creating while designing a couple components for pop-ups and advertisements that they had on their website currently, and also were using for the application. Those then were supposed to be integrated in development afterwards. So the third part where I was, well, trying to make it work, but as with every bigger company, that means a lot of requirements engineering, stack, a little bit. I needed to talk to a lot of people, which in the end turned out not actually implementing this as a developer, because that takes a while, and usually, everybody needs to be happy with how it's done. And there was a lot of things that I found out, which was very useful. I got to be honest, very, very useful, that could be done differently and better than they thought it would be, and they needed to make some decisions about it. So in the end, I was working on A/B Tasty, which is like a A/B test kind of environment. I was working with a content management system of theirs, as well as their web application itself, which was great, and I learned a lot about that as well. And then in the end, last 2 weeks as well, I was at marketing and business analytics, and there I was working with the data that data engineering was organizing and making fancy charts and Tableau.
That's awesome that you got to be in so many different parts of the company, and to experience what it's like to be a developer for all of those different aspects. What do you think the benefits are of doing an internship like the one you've been at with DocMorris right after graduating from a coding boot camp?
Well, it kind of mellows the experience. Sometimes when you come out of a boot camp, you think, "Whoa, now I learned all the things. I'm the boss." No, you're at best a junior, honestly, and it has just started to really get to a point where you understand what's going on, which is great. I knew this getting in there. I knew that I needed to learn more and actually get into the groove of things. So the practical experience within a company like DocMorris was for me invaluable, absolutely invaluable. I had pair programming sessions with one of their senior devs, that guy that was with us at the hackathon and was in the jury as well. He was later on one of my buddies and was guiding me through the internship, and he was great, absolutely great. So learning new things on top of what I already had was great. WBS Coding School allowed me to have a wonderful baseline. But that's what it is, right? There's always in every company things that aren't just baseline. They're extra. So you need to have the will to also learn more. And I think that's one of the things that I've picked up at WBS Coding School, especially throughout 17 weeks of just pushing for things, that I can learn really quickly new things if done correctly.
Is there a chance that your internship at DocMorris will turn into some kind of full-time role?
No,
Mm.
no, no. They've already said they don't have a spot for a full stack or junior position in general currently, but that's not bad. That's fine. I have gotten wonderful recommendations from them and references from them, so they've helped me out tons, and they're very nice people.
Let's talk a little bit about career services at WBS Coding School. How do they help its students prepare for the tech job hunt, and do they help you after you graduate? Can you reach back out to them for support?
Throughout the boot camp in the 17 weeks, there is as well a career services part to the boot camp where you learn how to properly write your CV and your cover letters, how to properly word them, what to look out for, what mistakes not to make. And each of these cover letters slash CVs then get sent to them. They rate them. They give you tips and tricks on how to best do whatever you need to do to stand out on the job market. They help you set up your LinkedIn profile. They help you find the right jobs or where to look for jobs, as well as how to best apply for them. This was a thing throughout the bootcamp already. This is a thing I can still grab on right now. The career services is for any alumni, I think still available for at least a year in. So I have, now that I've done my internship, I went back to them, was like, hey, can you help me out here? Just and then we went into like a 30-minute talk as well. We looked over my CV one more time, and yeah, also wonderful, beautiful people, helped out a lot. Will still help out probably even more until I have a job.
At this point in your tech career journey, was attending WBS Coding School worth it for you?
Yes. Yes. Which is interesting because I paid this, right?
Right.
Right. So there has to be a worth afterwards. It's not like Germany paid this for me. No, I have paid this. And I think I've gotten way more out of this. So I won the hackathon, which is now on my LinkedIn and the CV, and got a nice certificate out of this, which is great. I got an internship afterwards as well, which was paid, by the way. 8 weeks paid internship at DocMorris. Lots of information and references that came out of that as well. And I have a career services that is dealing with me writing very mediocre cover letters. So I feel like I made out like a bandit. Honestly, I got everything. So I think it was very much worth it.
That's so cool. What is your advice to incoming students on how to make the most of their WBS coding school experience? Anything you wish you had known before day one of the boot camp?
Well, I knew a lot coming in. I was very well prepared. Like I said before, I was overly prepared, in fact. I think one of the major things that is something I would say to other people going in is be prepared to learn a lot. And be aware that the learning process is different from going to university or to school. It's a practical learning process that is sometimes kind of founded on making mistakes, a lot of mistakes. You need to make those mistakes, otherwise, you will not learn to not do them afterwards. This is a fundamental programming thing in general, I think. Sometimes it's really, really important to just sit there for an hour and go through a bug for problems because you will not have this experience otherwise. It's very cramped. There's a lot of knowledge in there, but it's something afterwards where you will feel, how did I learn this in 17 weeks? At the start, it will feel like, oh my God, there's so much. And afterwards, you're like, oh my God, how did I do this? I think that's a really important thing. It can be incredibly overwhelming at start. It will be feeling very rewarding afterwards.
That's a perfect place to wrap up our Q&A. Thank you so much for chatting with me today about WBS Coding School, René. And thanks so much to all of you who are watching this. We're going to be posting a transcript of this video interview on the Course Report blog with contact information for WBS Coding School, just in case you're inspired to apply for any of their upcoming cohorts. And in the meantime, you can follow Course Report on Facebook, LinkedIn, and X. And if you're a bootcamp alum, don't forget to post a review of your bootcamp experience on Course Report. Your review is a huge help to anyone who's thinking of getting into tech today.